Historical background. More adventures await. October 1887, in Calamba, Laguna, he started writing the novel. While Rizal was in the midst of practicing medicine, he started writing the sequel of his infamous work Noli Me Tangere, the El Filibusterismo. El Filibusterismo is more revolutionary and tragic than the first novel. It was equipped with less humor, idealism, and romance. 1888 in London, United Kingdom, he made some major revisions to the plot. Rizal changed the plot and revised some of the chapters he had already written. Then, he continued writing more chapters while he was in Paris and Madrid. March 29, 1891, in Biarritz, France, he finished the book. Rizal initially pledged his properties to finance El Fili's printing. He related the following in a July 9, 1891 letter to José Bassa: "I have pawned everything I own in order to publish this book because I have not received a centavo in the past 3 months. I will keep distributing it as long as I can, also, when all in all nothing remains to be pawned I will stop." July 5, 1891, leaving Brussels, he left for Ghent since the cost of living was cheaper there. One of the alleged reasons for his departure from Brussels to Ghent, aside from cheaper printing, was to escape his attraction to a certain Petite Cézanne which he deemed as a distraction to his construction of the novel. August 6, 1891, in Ghent, Belgium, the printing of the book was suspended. The depressing news that the printing had to be suspended due to a lack of funds was contained in Rizal's next letter to Bassa. At this point, Valentin Ventura entered the picture and offered Rizal financial assistance because he was aware of his situation. September 18, 1891, in Ghent, Belgium, the novel finally came off the press. Rizal found it necessary to fundamentally shorten the novel, erasing 47 complete pages from the 279-page manuscript to save money, even with Ventura's assistance. Contrary to his initial plan for a longer sequel, the printed El Fili only contained 39 chapters compared to the 63 of the Noli. Blumentritt, Mariano Ponce, Graciano Lopez Gina, Antonio Luna, Trinidad Pardo de Tavera, Juan Luna, and other friends received complimentary copies from Rizal. October 1891, the novel was serialized. In its October 1891 issue, the liberal Madrid newspaper El Nuevo Régimen published Rizal's novel in serial form. The original manuscript is now being kept in the Filipiniana division of the Bureau of Public Libraries in Manila. The El Filibusterismo manuscript was purchased by the Philippine government from Ventura in 1925 for a significant sum of 10,000 pesos. Currently, it is housed in the National Library.
El Filibusterismo.
One December morning, on board a steamer tugboat sailing up the Pasig River from Manila to Laguna de Bay. On its upper deck is Doña Victorina, traveling in search of her husband Don Tiburcio, who has fled from her abuse. On deck too are Don Custodio, the writer Benzabe and Padres Salvi, Sibylla, Irene, and Camora, and the steamer's captain. Also present is Simoun, a jeweler who stands out for having long white hair and large blue sunglasses. He is reputed to have advisory influence over the Captain General. Below the deck, Capitan Basilio engages in conversation with the young poet Isagani and medical student Basilio. A man of wealth and mystery, Simoun is a very close friend and confidant of the Spanish Governor-General. Because of his great influence in Malacañang, he was called the Brown Cardinal or the Black Eminence. By using his wealth and political influence, he encourages corruption in the government, promotes the oppression of the masses, and hastens the moral degradation of the country so that the people may become desperate and fight. He smuggles arms into the country with the help of a rich Chinese merchant, Quiroga, who aspires to be the Chinese consul of Manila. His first attempt to begin the armed uprising did not materialize because at the last hour he heard the sad news that Maria Clara died in the nunnery. In his agonizing moment of bereavement, he did not give the signal for the outbreak of warfare. After a long time of illness brought about by the bitter loss of Maria Clara, Simoun perfects his plan to overthrow the government. On the occasion of the wedding of Paulita Gomez and Juanito Pelaez, he gives a beautiful lamp as a wedding gift to them. Only he and his confidential associates, Basilio, know that when the wick of his lamp burns lower, the nitroglycerin, hidden in its secret compartment, will explode, destroy the house where the wedding feast is going to be held, killing all the guests, including the governor-general, the friars, and the government officials. Simultaneously, all the government buildings in Manila will be blown by Simoun's followers. As the wedding feast begins, the poet Isagani, who has been rejected by Paulita because of his liberal ideas, is standing outside the house, sorrowfully watching the merriment inside. Basilio, his friend, warns him to go away because the lightened lamp will soon explode. Upon hearing the horrible secret of the lamp, Isagani realizes that his beloved Paulita is in grave danger. To save her life, he rushes into the house, grabs the lightened lamp, and throws it into the river, where it explodes. The revolutionary plot is thus discovered. Simoun is cornered by the soldiers, but he escapes. Mortally wounded, and carrying his treasure chest, he seeks refuge in the home of Padre Florentino by the sea. However, Simoun's presence in Padre Florentino's house is discovered by the Spanish police. Lieutenant Perez of the Guardia Civil informs the priest by letter that he will come at 8 o'clock that night to arrest Simoun. Simoun uses poison to avoid being arrested. As he is dying, he confesses to Padre Florentino, revealing his true identity, his devious plan to use his wealth to avenge himself, and his evil intent to destroy his friends and enemies. It is already night when Padre Florentino, wiping the sweat from his wrinkled brow, rises and begins to meditate. He consoles the dying man, saying,
God will forgive you, Señor Simoun. He knows that we are fallible. He has seen that you have suffered, and in ordaining that the chastisement for your faults should come as death from the very ones you have instigated to crime, we can see his infinite mercy. He has frustrated your plans one by one, the best conceived, first by the death of Maria Clara, then by a lack of preparation, then in some mysterious way. Let us bow to his will and render him thanks.
Watching Simoun die peacefully with a clear conscience and at peace with God, Padre Florentino falls upon his knees and prays for the dead jeweler. The priest then takes the treasure chest and throws it into the sea.
Interpretation and analysis from Rizal's point of view. For his novel El Filibusterismo, Rizal drew his inspiration mainly from Gamburza, the three martyr priests who were executed at the time of Spanish rule. It represents the injustices that the Filipino people endured during the Spaniards' rule. Mariano Gomez, José Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora are the three priests killed in the novel, which José Rizal dedicated to them. He stated that the way the Spanish government treated them and caused their deaths was unjust and unfair. The government is subjective, cruel, completely lacking in a sense of justice or responsibility, and without interest or trust in the people it governs. The current Philippine government system is corrupt and full of self-seeking officials who are dominated by liars and are subservient to their own interests, which only leads to disaster for the country and our countrymen. The friars are painted in even harsher colors than in the Noli. They abuse their power to satisfy devious lusts, to rob men of their lands, to preserve their monopoly of education, always seek their own interests rather than those of the country, or even of Spain. Rizal is just as harsh in his condemnation of Spanish cruelty as he is in his condemnation of Filipino cruelty. The Filipina, Dona Victorina, ashamed of her race, the cowardly, time-serving Filipino lawyer, Señor Pasta, the brutalized civil guard, cruelest of all of their own countrymen, the corrupt municipal officials, to name a few. He proclaims the unstable and presumably irreversible status of Spanish sovereignty in the Philippines. Yet he never urges revolution. Not only does he condemn independence won by immoral means, like Simoun, he does not even want immediate independence, which could only mean a new slavery. The task for the Filipinos is to prepare themselves, to make themselves worthy of freedom, and then God will grant the means, be it a revolution or peaceful separation from Spain. The first 2 chapters of the novel portray the presence of the social ladder in society. First chapter, titled On the Upper Deck, went through as the steamship Tabo was cruising the Pasig River. Travelers on the higher deck were having some good conversations while enjoying the view from above. The scene depicts that the higher deck is only for the elite people who are mostly Spaniards. Moreover, the second chapter, titled On the Lower Deck, presents the Filipino Indios whose place was at the bottom of the social ladder. The novel concluded when Simoun was injured and appeared in Padre Florentino's house to reveal his true identity and original plan, which is to start a revolution. Yet, Padre Florentino spoke to him and told him that freedom cannot be solely attained with violence, only with education, constant work, and suffering. Reading this novel will lead you to the conclusion that the sword is not the only weapon capable of piercing steel armor, but that words can shatter the pride of anyone in this world. Words have that much power and impact, and José Rizal is an indication of that. The characters and their representations. Simoun depicts the revolutionaries during that time who supported the idea of holding a bloody revolt against the Spanish government. His death in El Filibusterismo tells readers that Rizal does not support the armed revolution. Basilio represents the youth with a simple dream that his education will improve his social and economic status in the future, is indifferent and selfish to the needs of society. Isagani is the symbol of the youth whose love for the country is great to the point of being branded as idealistic. Ka-Bisang Ta-Les personified a typical Filipino who is content with living a simple life. He also symbolizes the natives and farmers whose lands were seized by the friars, an explanation as to why Filipinos became rebels. Macarag shows the well-to-do Filipino youth during the Spanish era who had good dreams for the country. His character also provided readers a glimpse of how different the rich and the poor were treated during that time in society. Paulita Gomez is a caricature of a woman who chooses the best option for a more stable future. She knows what is best for her and would take advantage of her admirers to get what she wants. Padre Florentino depicts the secular Filipino priests in Rizal's time. It was also through his character that the author stressed his disapproval of a bloody revolt. Like Maria Clara, Julie symbolizes the purity and innocence of the lower-class women during Rizal's time. She would rather sacrifice rather than give up her ideals. Maria Clara represents a pure and naive woman. Father Irene embodies the few Spaniards who are sympathetic to the Filipinos. Ben Zabe personifies a corrupted media. Abraham Ibanez is his real name. Conclusion. The martyrdom of Gomburza inspired Rizal to fight the evils of Spanish tyranny and redeem his oppressed people. They fought on the issues of secularization in the Philippines, which led to the conflict between religious and church seculars. Their execution had a profound effect on many late 19th century Filipinos. José Rizal, later to become the country's national hero, would dedicate his novel, El Filibusterismo, to their memory. The theme and plot of El Filibusterismo were changed to convey the message. El Fili aims at enlightening society, and at bringing Filipinos closer to the truth. In this novel, society is urged to open its eyes to reality and rebel against the Spanish government for its oppression and abuse. El Filibusterismo encapsulates its purpose. To defend Filipino people from foreign accusations of foolishness and lack of knowledge, and to show how the Filipino people lived during the Spanish colonial period and the cries and woes of his countrymen against abusive officials. The major differences between Noli Me Tangere as compared to El Filibusterismo. Noli is a love story or a romantic novel, dedicated to our motherland, while El Fili is a political novel associated with revenge and anger and is dedicated to Gamburza. According to Rizal, it is education and liberty that would be the cure for Filipino indolence. El Fili significantly uprooted and highlighted the causes such as abuse and discrimination, the inaction of the government, rampant corruption and red tape, wrong doctrines of the church, and wrong examples from some Spaniards who lead lives of indolence, which ultimately led to the deterioration of Filipinos' values.